If you scale a traditional real estate enterprise fast enough, you will find that the operational structure inevitably cracks. The paradox is simple. A larger sales team generates more revenue, but it simultaneously multiplies the surface area for regulatory failure. Adding agents means adding liability. In a standard enterprise, the intake pipeline is entirely manual. A lead enters the Customer Relationship Management System, or CRM, and stops dead until a human intervenes. Moving that lead into an active campaign requires manual data exports, external spreadsheet formatting, and ultimately re-importing the contact back into the CRM. The actual outreach relies on static, repetitive templates. Agents blast canned emails that fail to adapt to a buyer's specific lifecycle stage or priority level. Even with these templates, the execution phase drains operational bandwidth. Agents waste thousands of collective hours manually selecting leads, typing generic updates, and clicking send. But the wasted time is a secondary issue. The primary risk is relying on thousands of independent contractors to accurately self-police complex compliance laws on every single dispatch. Real estate communications carry mandatory legal burdens. Agents must navigate the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, strict fair housing regulations, and precise affiliated business arrangement, or AFBA, disclosures. When compliance is enforced by copying and pasting a disclosure block from a company memo, human error is mathematically guaranteed. Small omissions turn into institutional drift. Delegating policy enforcement to thousands of individual agents creates a direct correlation between growth and regulatory exposure. Addressing this requires a governed execution layer, an infrastructure built specifically for the regulatory demands of modern real estate. This execution layer, called IRES 360, allows an enterprise to rapidly scale AI-powered communications while strictly confining all output within legal policy requirements. The system operates on a distinct architectural thesis. The act of persuading a client and the act of complying with the law must be separated by design. In practice, the division of labor is absolute. An IBM Watson X AI engine writes the dynamic message, while an overarching software framework mathematically enforces the governance. By decoupling the conversational message from the rigid legal rules, the enterprise achieves exact consistency across thousands of sends, without sacrificing the personalized outreach of the individual agent. To see how this autonomous governance functions, we have to map the exact path a data point travels from the CRM to the outbox. This diagram illustrates the data pipeline. Step 1 begins at the source, a CRM-like follow-up boss, which houses the original lead data. Rather than exporting lists, the CRM simply syncs a specific client tag directly into the central system. Step 2 occurs inside the IRES 360 platform. Acting as the brain, it utilizes the Watson X engine to generate governed dynamic text based on that synced tag. Step 3 introduces the gatekeeper, governed by Google OAuth 2.0. This connection relies entirely on tokenized, revocable authentication. The platform is restricted to a strict send-only posture. Step 4 is the delivery. The final compiled message is dispatched directly from the agent's own outbox. The security guarantees of this architecture are entirely consent-based. The system requires explicit agent authorization, and the connection has zero capability to read the agent's inbox. Because the text is generated and instantly dispatched, the platform maintains absolute zero data storage of the client's information. The pipeline executes a fully autonomous outbound motion while holding an externally verified bank-grade security posture. Inside this pipeline, a CRM tag functions as an execution trigger for a specific outreach program. Applying a tag like downsizing to a lead commands the system to pull a specific centralized prompt from the enterprise catalog. This animation shows why an enterprise AI prompt must be structurally segmented. If the AI were given raw, unconstrained access to generate text, it could easily hallucinate a regulatory violation. To prevent this, Layer 1 is the locked frame. Controlled exclusively by the system administrator, this outer shell holds the required legal language. This frame actively blocks unauthorized inputs that would risk exposure to fair housing laws, RESPA and AFBA violations, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and CAN-SPAM. Layer 2 is the message. This is the dynamic core, written fresh every time by the Watson engine. Within the boundaries of the frame, the message adapts its texture and tone automatically, reading the lead's priority score and their current stage in the sales pipeline. Layer 3 is the voice. This is the authorized space for human styling. Agents can customize this top layer with personal style, local color, or a holiday note. However, they possess zero ability to override or edit the locked outer frame. This three-tiered anatomy guarantees a clean division of responsibilities. Legal owns the rules, AI handles the heavy lifting, and the human maintains the relationship. To verify these constraints, we can observe the system process a simulated prompt against synthetic data. This interface shows the input parameters for a hypothetical lead. We assigned a high priority score of 75, sitting at stage 1. Reading these variables, the AI accurately generates a warm, unpressured introductory message that matches the exact priority and stage constraints. As the text finalizes, the system-appended governance takes over at the bottom of the dispatch. Lock 1 drops in, RESPA correct language explicitly defining affiliated business arrangements. The system mandates precise phrasing, using terms like affiliated business of Rocket and strictly preventing the word partner. Locks 2 and 3 secure the credentials, the hard-coded inclusion of required NMLS mortgage IDs, the state broker license, and the physical brokerage address. Lock 4 enforces federal law with a functional, mandatory CAN-SPAM opt-out link embedded directly into the footer of every dispatch. 2 final fail-safes operate in the background. First, the system strictly enforces a hard daily limit of 200 sends per agent. Second, the platform categorizes leads strictly by intent-based segments, such as equity mover. Targeting signals are invisible to the message output, ensuring outreach is never based on a protected class. The AI is granted the freedom to generate persuasive language, precisely because the physical infrastructure mathematically prevents non-compliant output. When a single message is perfectly constrained, the enterprise economics of policy deployment completely shift. Currently, rolling out a new program or compliance update requires a massive mobilization of resources, writing the documentation, scheduling training sessions, and auditing adoption over months. This chart shows the actual cost of organizational drift. A single compliance update for 2,000 agents, requiring just 30 minutes of training each, costs the enterprise 1,000 human hours. The IRES 360 model collapses this equation by localizing policy to the master prompt. When legal updates are required disclosure inside the locked frame, that edit instantly cascades to every future send across the entire organization. The economic advantage is structural. The cost of compliance deployment stops scaling with headcount, reducing enterprise risk to near zero. In practice, the operation runs seamlessly. Dormant leads are re-engaged automatically, progressing stage by stage through the sales pipeline without active agent intervention. Every outgoing interaction instantly writes back to the CRM, updating the lead status with zero manual bookkeeping. The software handles the exact timing, the strict compliance, and the data entry. The human operator simply steps in to handle the real conversations when the client replies. Prove the architecture with a 90-day pilot. Deploy the governed catalog directly against your dormant leads, volume that has already been paid for but abandoned due to operational friction. Watch the definitive lift in engagement, achieved securely, autonomously, and without adding a single human hour to the payroll.